Call in order, Town of North Branford Water Pollution Control Authority and regular Town Council meeting of North Branford, Connecticut, Tuesday, June 6, 2023, at about 7:03 p.m. We will start with a salute to flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this fine, smoggy evening. All right. If you would, roll call, please.
Mayor McMillan.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Zampano.
Here.
Council Diamond.
Here.
Council Panicia.
Here.
Council Palladino.
Here.
Council Gold.
Here.
And Council Ace.
Here. Thank you. Okay, item 2, minutes of the previous meetings. Item A, May 16, 2023, regular town council meeting. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Diamond,
I have a
seconded by,
correction.
give me a Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion?
Yeah, correction on page 9. On the motion to accept the budget, it says that I abstained. However, I voted no. I didn't abstain on that motion. I voted no, so that has to be corrected in the minutes.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right, on item B, May 23rd, 2023, special meeting WPCA. Accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Councilor Diamond, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And that shall pass. Thank you. Okay, on to the Water Pollution Control Authority agenda. Item 3, correspondence, citizen statements. Do we have any? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, unfinished business. I don't see any there, so we'll move on to item 5, new business. Item A, discussion and action, 224 Foxen Road, map 22, lot 1. Request to connect mobile homes and recreational vehicle park sites and laundry facilities to sanitary sewers on Pawtucket Road. Change that to on Pawtucket Road. All right. Victor, how are you tonight, sir?
Good evening. Good, thanks. How are you? For the record, again, Victor Benny, town engineer. Again, the request at this site at 224 Pawtucket Road is for Pawtucket Land Holdings LLC and the owners here tonight, Don Capelli, to connect 30 RV park site units and 32 age-restricted mobile home units. Both sets of those are currently existing on the property at 224 Pawtucket Road, and also to add a 462 square foot laundry building. Those would all be connected to an existing 3-inch force main, which travels up to Pawtucket Road and connects into the town sanitary sewer system. That line was originally approved to be installed as part of another proposal that Mr. Capelli brought in front of this commission back in September of 2020, which was to connect 3 of the RV park site units. So part of that project, including installing the 3-inch force main up to Pawtucket Road, and with the idea that in the future, a connection would be made with the entire RV park connecting to that now existing 3-inch force main. I have the engineer from Criscolo Engineering, Jim Preddy, here tonight. If it's okay with you folks, he's interested in giving you a little presentation on the project. You also have you should have in your packet hard copies of the full-size plans and details that were included with this proposal. We'll get a little bit more into the details in the plans during the actual sewer permitting process if we get that far. If there's any fine-tuned details or questions that you might have about that, we can get into that now, but be more something that I cover with the engineer when the actual sewer connection permit comes through my office after this agency hopefully approves the plan. So Jim, if you're ready. I also have some comments after Jim about connection fees and the sewer use fees, but I think getting more into the whole detail of the plan is worth hearing.
Good evening, Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Branford.
As Victor said, this has kind of been an ongoing or a coming project for a number of years. The sewer work in Totoka Road had been done as part of a different project back when Kurt was here. This was all planned. We left stubs for this property, also a stub for the corner property. But the plan is to run a sewer main down the center of this property and leave capped stubs at each site so that Mr. Capelli can connect the units as he goes along and not have to do it all at once. As you can imagine, there's a certain amount of disruption and people are living there. The pump station will be over next to the existing laundry facility where the power will come from. The control panel will be mounted right on the side of the building with the alarms and such. And then the force main goes about 340 feet, I believe, up to that existing stub that was left back in 2020. That's really, as part of this, they're going to be running water also in the main road and stubbing out for each building. There's already a 2-inch connection at the front of the property that they'll be connecting into. So all these units will be on city water and sewer following this.
Want to touch on the existing septic a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, all these units have very minimal septic systems, and some of the tanks are actually under the units. It's really not ideal. The other part of the problem is I know that there's, Don has talked to the health department over the years about, fixing some of these things, and basically was told that, we're kind of at the end of the road here, so they really need to connect to the sewer. Again, this is a lower area than up in here, and as you can imagine, there's at times groundwater problems and a number of things, so it wouldn't make any sense to try to even repair the septic systems.
So everything that's needed to do that is there now, or is set up to be?
Stub.
It's been set up. Yeah, this has been coming for a while, yes.
So it's kind of been an ongoing thing, right? I mean,
Right. So
everything
the infrastructure in the town right of way along Pawtucket Road was added back in 2020 as part of the original 3 units that connected, and it was set up basically, like Jim said, with Kurt's overview of everything to be there available for the entire park to eventually connect, with the understanding that any future connection approvals would need to come back through this commission. So anything proposed now on the infrastructure on private property that's being proposed as far as the mains and the force mains and the lift station, the pump station, things like that, are all gonna, I guess I should point, or we should point that out, that's all gonna be under the responsibility of Pawtucket Land Holdings, under that private property ownership. So there's nothing really, as far as infrastructure for us, for the town, being added to the town's infrastructure. It's all being built on private property for them to maintain.
So there's no more expenses for us as a town for this?
No, all the town portion has already been done, so this is all private property, basically, private facilities.
What's the connection fee structure?
So the special connection fee is basically a sum of 3 separate calculations, and it comes to $201,000. So that's the RV units being charged at 1/3 of the rate of the existing residential rate. The mobile home units are going to be age restricted, so they're charged a separate rate. And then the laundry facility is basically a calculation using the commercial rate. And that all adds up to $201,000. And I should point out that one of the requests from Mr. Capelli was that if it's possible to come up with a way that as he connects, maybe let's call it a package of units at a time, whether it's 3 of the units or 6 of the units, if we could come up with a way that a special connection fee structure that's paid by Mr. Capelli as he makes the connections and as those sewer connection permits are processed, if you know what I'm saying, instead of since he won't take advantage of the whole project at once being connected, he's more planning on doing a few units at a time.
How many total units are there?
There's a total of 62 units plus the laundry facility.
How about the sewer connection on Route E? Can that handle that volume when, whatever it has now? If there's not a problem?
The flow rate.
So the flows were analyzed as part of the 3-inch main that went in. I don't have anything on file right now from, that would be to the Greater New Haven WPCA system. So we do have capacity as far as what's available for us through Greater New Haven, but I don't have any approvals or reviews from that agency for this project. It is a bit more substantial than what we usually bring in front of you as far as, usually a single residential lot.
So in other words, you assume the capacity is okay?
Well, the capacity's there as far as what they've promised to us, but I haven't had any communication with them as far as, if they have any requirements as far as a review goes or anything like that.
Will you?
I could. I guess I'm kind of assuming that since we have the capacity in our contract with them, that we'd be good to go, but it could be something that I do, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something you should check. So what is the rate for the different items you described?
For the special connection fee?
Yeah.
So the 30 RV spaces come out to $123,000.
How about per unit?
Yeah, per unit is basically a third of the cost of the $12,300
Okay, so 4,000?
for $4,100 each, right?
Yeah, just give me a number.
Sorry.
I don't want to calculate it. You have the number.
Right. Okay, so then the mobile park units are, the first 5 units are $4,000 per unit, and then every unit thereafter is $2,000 per unit. And those are the age restricted. The laundry facility is $4,000 based on the square footage.
So is any of this permanent housing?
Say again, is any of it
Is
permanent?
any of this permanent housing year-round?
It's all permanent housing.
Okay, so is any of it non-age restricted?
The mobile home, non-age restricted. The RV park units are non-age restricted. Right, yeah, non-age restricted. Too much smoke inhalation.
So how many units are non-age restricted?
Are not
Non-age
restricted would be the 30 units.
So the RV, all the RV is non-restricted?
All the RV, correct.
Okay, how about anything else?
Everything else is age restricted, being the mobile home unit, classified as the mobile home units.
Okay. How does the septic work now? For instance, does it work like a trailer?
I think I know,
park?
but let's have Don.
Okay.
Don Capelli, Totucket Land Holdings. So basically, there's 27 septic tanks in the park currently. Essentially 2 per mobile home is the way the park was designed. Those systems were installed in 1955. They have very minimal leaching fields. And the only reason why they're still working is because we're blessed with beautiful septic sand beneath our property along the Farm River. That's the only reason why they're still working from 1955. We don't feel that there's much time left to those systems. We pump them annually to try to prevent problems, but we're trying to head this off because we talked with the State Health Department, which we would fall under, as opposed to East Shore. And they analyzed our property and they said we would not be eligible to replace those septic systems. So we essentially have 2 options. One is close the park, the other is connect to sewers. So it's essentially, that's the long-term situation. Today's situation is everything is functional. But from 1955 till now, we don't feel that we're going to get another 50 years out of these septic systems by any means. So thus the reason for this.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were just holding tanks, whereas I
No,
know many-
they're actually
many parks,
systems.
They have holding tanks and they
Right.
get pumped out every so.
Right.
I don't know how often, every month or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's an extensive system of leaching fields and overflow fields in the park, which we've been discovering kind of by accident sometimes, because there's no plans from 1955 for what they did, and everybody that did it is dead. So it's essentially where we are.
So I'm assuming that these leaching fields aren't what you would consider regulation leaching field in today's.
I'm sure they're not.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure they're not.
Again, because the fact that you have an abundance of septic sand, it has allowed them to work.
Correct.
Have you had any fail yet?
No. We get, plugged lines sometimes. We have Sanitrol come out and take care of it. But
Sure.
no, we haven't had any failures. If we had a failure of a system right now, it would eliminate 2 units is what would happen. So we're an elderly park. We're HUD age restricted, 55 and older for all the mobile home units,
But not the 30 RVs.
but not the RV side, correct?
The RVs essentially act as mobile homes. They're pretty much there permanently anyway. It's not as if-
They're not permanent, but we are year-round occupied.
Yeah.
Mostly in our RV park, we have travel workers or travel nurses that work at Yale. So I think I have currently 15 travel nurses in the park right now. They stay 90 days at a time. So it's a year-round occupancy, but the faces change.
What's the delineation between mobile, I mean, I know, I would assume what the delineation is between mobile home and an RV. Does it have to be functional?
So the mobile homes are essentially permanent units.
Yeah.
They're technically could be moved, but practicality are not moved.
Yeah.
And the RVs are in and out.
Yeah, they're actually functioning.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Good.
You said that there's basically 27 septic systems. Once you're hooked up, what happens to those septic systems? Does it pose a health risk later on? Do they get emptied out? Do they get filled in?
They get demolished as the normal procedure for replacing a septic system that's going to sewer. So the tanks would be demolished.
Okay.
And the way the system is set up, if you look at the drawings, the connection points for the individual units would be at the existing septic tank. So the tank needs to be demolished even just to do the connection.
All right.
So, but I just want to make sure that you guys understand, we can't afford to do the entire project at one time. This is probably more of a 5 to 10 year plan. So we want to install a pump station, get the lines run, get the mains in the road, and then start connecting the units, several units at a time.
And how does that affect traffic? Because if you're working in the park itself and you have trucks, especially large trucks going in and out, people can't park there because I'm sure your parking spaces are limited. Does that affect traffic on Totucket or Route 80 where?
No, we have no entrance to Totucket Road at all. So we have 2 entrances on Route 80. So they can use either road. And if you look at the main work, all of the main work is on our, what we call AB row, and the C row road is not affected at all. So fire access, anything like that would be there. Yep.
The laundromat that you're putting in, that's just for the residents there?
Yes, that's correct. It's existing from 1955. There's basically 3 washers and 3 dryers for use of the park residents.
So it's not for the public to come in?
No, not at all.
And is there any restriction on amount of people allowed to stay per site?
Yes, so 47 of our units, which is in the main park, is a 2-person restriction. In the RV section of the park, what we call it, is a 2-person restriction for 9 months of the year because we don't allow children. We only allow children in the summer.
Thank you.
Victor, I'd just like to say, speaking for myself anyhow, as far as breaking up the connection fees, I mean, if you could break it up into, say, 3 or 4 different payments, I necessarily wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't want it to be cumbersome to the town where we're paying for every 2 connections and there's like a whole bunch of different payments. I think if there were just a few large payments, I think that would be reasonable.
As I understand it, a permit's issued for each unit. Is that correct?
A permit would be issued for each unit, yes, correct, but, there are other examples that the sum total fee is paid before those individual unit permits are issued, so it's really, however you folks want to structure it, and
Do you have
maybe.
a recommendation for us?
I guess to maybe, keep it as, so like you're saying, so we're not worried about a payment on every unit that's coming in, but, I would think probably 8 to 10 units at a time would be something that's not too hard to track, and that would also give a little bit of flexibility for Mr. Capelli as far as, easing into this over the course of 5 years or so.
Yeah, this is in total an approximately $600,000 project, including the connection fees.
Yeah.
So we have, in our age-restricted mobile home park, most of our people are on Social Security. Their rent is $670 per month. And to pay $210,000 up front, we'd have to borrow that money and go up significantly on the rents for those folks, which we don't want to do. That's why we're trying to ease into it. We figure we do the infrastructure first as one shot, and then do the connections a little at a time.
It sounds a little bit more, at least to me, it sounds a little bit more fair to do it that way too, because you kind of look at it like, well, they're getting what they pay for as they make the connections, you know what I mean? Instead of, us sitting on the total payment and waiting for them to connect all.
Fair enough.
So, Mr. Capelli, question for you. You had indicated if this was not approved, that likelihood the systems would fail and you would essentially close the park. What's your time frame? If that were to be the case, just understanding what that time frame looks like.
So it would be a little at a time because there's 2 units per system.
Mm-hmm.
So say tomorrow a system failed.
Mm-hmm.
We would have to tell those 2 units that they need to move, essentially.
And
There's no option for repair after talking to the state health department.
Correct. And your guesstimation is that could take years? That could take, give us an idea of the urgency.
I would say for the entire park to close, probably a 20-year time frame. For 2 units to lose their system, that could be tomorrow. We just don't know.
It's a fair question, fair.
So we're trying to get everything in place.
Of course.
So that if there is a failure, it's a quick connection. Hey, you guys are down for a day or 2, but the sewer contractor came in, he made the connection, he demolished the tank, and you guys are back in business again.
What else is in the ground over there that we need to be aware of? These things were built in 1950. Is there fuel oil tanks? There's things such as that?
No, there's no in the ground. Matter of fact, I think we're down to just a couple of above ground fuel tanks that are in double containment.
Okay.
Because we are right next to the Farm River.
Yes.
Matter of fact, we approached the RWA to see, because there was some long-term planning with the RWA to improve the water quality in the Farm River. Mm-hmm. So we went to them to see if there was any funds available. They said if the municipality was doing our sewer system, there would be funds available, but not if we do it privately like what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you coming up and talk to us. Okay. Is this something we want to think through, or are we ready to put some action, please?
I'm comfortable with it.
Well, I think there is one thing that, we need to consider, and that is we didn't approve a multifamily house when they asked for a reduction in rate. I'm not saying we should, what we should do here, but I'm just saying we have to keep that in mind.
It does set precedent.
Is there actually a reduction in rate, Victor?
So the current sewer regulations include all these rates in there. That's where the rates came from. So there's been no adjustment to the current rates. This project originally, it was probably back in 2016, came to you, and the regulations were changed then to make it so basically 3 units get charged that one residential rate of $12,300. So we're
So this is still static to what was
Right.
presented. Okay, that's,
But wasn't that presented as a transit, someone that trailer, trailer is not there,
That was the last
year
time.
round?
Yeah, that was the last time we did it. It was, what was there, 3 sites or something the last
Right.
time?
for
They were-
the 3 sites.
Yeah, they were transitory sites or whatever,
Right.
with people coming in and out.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was here then as well. And the thought behind the RVs is that they are low occupancy. For instance, we probably have 7 open units right now for RVs. And also, when Kurt did the calculations, the daily discharge from an RV with 2 people was like, actually, I remember the conversation because it was 25% of a normal household. And someone on the council at the time said, instead of coming in for a third, why didn't you come in for 25%? And so, I mean, that was the comment at the time. So it was approved at a third.
okay. Any other questions?
Well, but it was approved at a third because there wouldn't be someone there 365 days.
That's
But we
correct.
have, but we're, what are we saying here?
No, that is correct. And in the RVs, they are not 100% occupancy. That's correct. Also, the flow calculations that Kurt did. So there was 2 reasons for it.
Okay, I would want us to go to the state and make sure that before we say yes, that there's capacity. I know that we're assuming there's capacity, but things change over the years. We don't know. That's what I would think. That would
That's
be
why I asked the
a
question, I
prudent
was
thing to
concerned
do.
about capacity.
Yeah.
Right, I could, easily open up a line of communication with Greater New Haven WPCA and, basically informing them that we're going to be using a portion of our available capacity, but a larger portion all at once or at least for one project, and see
Yeah.
if they want to either have a review on what's being proposed, or if they have any comments about what's being proposed, sure.
Tom, I'm trying to figure out what you're looking to do.
Well-
You don't want to vote on it tonight, you want to, table it to investigate
I mean, I
further?
think it's important because we're assuming, and maybe there is capacity, I don't know, but
Okay.
we're assuming, but it's been how many years we've had this system, and now we're gonna continue the assumption that we have capacity for this big project almost all at once. And I think we just better be sure we have it, before we
Well,
I
this-
think.
The system was in 1955, you're looking at 67 years.
No. Our sewer system.
Oh, okay.
Our sewer system, we're
We're talking about
assuming
our
there's
flow,
capacity to take all this all at
Correct.
once.
Okay.
And there might very well be, but I certainly don't know.
So who do we give, where do we?
Well, I think that's what
So-
Victor's saying,
so they-
Greater New Haven.
Right, this portion of the system goes to, or through East Haven to Greater New Haven Water Pollution Control Authority, where it's treated at the plant in New Haven. So, and I did review the files from previous approvals, Don's right about the calculations on flow. I think they were calculated around a sixth of the amount of what a regular household will be, and we went up to a third from there. So, but the capacity question to Greater New Haven is something where it's fair to at least run it by them, make sure that everybody's okay with this. It's not a small amount, even though it's not a small amount as far as one residential house at a time, which we're usually hooking up. They may notice a somewhat, not substantial, but an increase in flows from us, and it'll be good to just put them in the loop on that. I don't really think we're gonna have any kind of problem, because like I said, the 3-inch line was put in, and it was anticipated that this future connection was going to happen based on the amount of capacity that we had available to us from Greater New Haven, so.
Could you find out by the next meeting?
Next meeting? Let's say I'll put the request out to Greater New Haven, and I know the folks over there, so it's an easy call, and I just can't promise what their turnaround time would be. I'd hope that they work with us by the next meeting, yeah.
Victor, you're saying there's a 3-inch line, right? That's the 3-inch line in the trailer park, or that's the running down?
No,
the road?
right, so.
It's stubbed off of the road.
So the 3-inch line, so in the original project, so the original history on this is, and I'm sure Don could get it better than I can, but in reviewing the files, a 2-inch line was proposed to connect the property at 190 to Tuckett Road. 190? And part of that project also planned on using 3 of the units from the mobile home park to connect into that 2-inch line, which those 3 units were approved to connect. In the process of laying down the 2-inch line into Tuckett Road and down a portion of Woodchase where it connects into our existing system there at an existing manhole, they also decided that since they dug everything up and they have to lay the 2-inch line, that they have this future plan to connect the park to hopefully to the sanitary sewer system. And they said, let's put down a 3-inch line while we're at it. Kurt inspected that line during the installation process. It was pressure tested at the end of the installation process, passed the pressure test. And the idea was that the 3-inch line was necessary because the 2-inch line couldn't carry all of those units connecting. It could only carry a few units. That's why the 3 units were connected to that at the time. And it's been basically sitting there waiting since 2016 to get your approval to connect the whole park.
But the 3-inch line is just carrying the park, or
The 3-inch
anything else around there too?
The 3-inch line will just carry the park, but the 3-inch line is part of our infrastructure now. It's in our town right of way. If there's any other developments that happen there or other properties along the length of it that you want to connect, it would be something that would have to come through to this
Back here.
to this commission, but it's there to connect to, just like any other gravity line that we have in town. A new proposal for another property would have to include, the proper pumping system, and we'd have to make sure that the line can handle whatever those folks are proposing to connect to it. So, but yeah, it's been there kind of waiting.
Looking at the map, it says there's 340 linear feet of 2-inch pipe, all right? Is that, the 2-inch pipe is on the property of the park and then will run into Tuckett Road? And where does the 3-inch come into play?
Right, you got it. That's the 2-inch pipe. That's part of the system that's proposed at 224
Right.
to Tuckett, and then that line will run out from their pump station and connect to our 3-inch line.
And our 3-inch line is not at 190 till Tuckett, is it? Where's our 3-inch line?
Our 3-inch line.
I'm following this here, and then there's the 190 till Tuckett you talked about, and that's just 22 over 3.
The 3-inch line comes down here, the 2 and the 3-inch line. And there's existing connections right there right now, and it continues even a little bit further down to here, waiting for the connection.
All right.
Okay, so we have a little bit of information that we want to get back.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until we get more information about the capacity.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to table. Victor, we'd like to come back, reach out to New Haven Water Authority and Regional Water Authority and get us those that, we want to be rock solid that the flows are fine. We know likely it is, and we can take care of it from there, but just to make sure that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's. Okay?
Fair enough.
All right, we have a motion by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor, excuse me. We have a motion by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor Palladino. Any discussion? Excuse me.
No discussion on the motion.
Sorry, I'm choking over here. I choked my own self. I apologize. Okay. All right. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. All right, we will meet that at the next meeting. Excuse me.
Take it outside and get some fresh air.
I know, jeez, man. Mike, whatever you have, come over this way. Okay, excuse me. All right, on to item 6, instant statements and petitions. Do we have any? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to the regular town council meeting. Town manager report, item 7, general, and item A, general updates. Sir?
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask if the council would consider moving item 8A up ahead of my report, just to accommodate our guests from Connecticut Deep who are here to make a presentation to you.
I think that'd be more than acceptable. We could do that. We need to have a vote in order to move that up.
Just to amend the agenda.
Okay, so let's,
I'll make the motion that we move 8A up before 7.
Second.
okay, motion by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstained? All right, thank you.
Thank you. So I can,
All right, so item 8, community events and presentations. Item A, presentation from the CT Deep on planned remediation activity, 209, 400, and 420 Tucket Road and New Bigs Way, Rare.
All right, I've got Craig Boborowicki, is that it? Yes, you did. Excellent. And he's an environmental analyst 3 with the remediation division of Connecticut Deep. He's here with his team to talk about the referenced properties and their plans there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mark Lewis. I'm a supervising environmental analyst with the Remediation Division of DEEP, and I supervise Craig and Katie, who have been handling this investigation from the beginning. And I want to say I appreciate your courtesy in moving this item up to the agenda, and I'm going to hand this off to their very capable hands to explain what we've been doing.
Appreciate that, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening. Again, so my name's Craig Boborowicki, analyst with the Remediation Division. I guess I'm addressing the council, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So just go through a quick history of these sites. If you're aware, there's the four properties that were mentioned by the mayor, for 209, 400, 420, and New Bigs Way Rear. There was illegal dumping that had been allowed by the previous owner of the property, one Mr. Spezzano, for decades. The dumping included municipal household waste, construction debris, among others. Complaints were submitted to the department. Eventually, subsequent to those complaints, court action was taken against Mr. Spezzano. Mr. Spezzano was a recalcitrant offender with the department. So Mr. DeLongo purchased the properties from Mr. Spezzano, eventually evicted him off of the properties, although Mr. Spezzano allegedly left with a bang on the properties. So remediation, so originally it was a waste division issue with it. Illegal dumping is waste rather than remediation. We were brought in about 2015 because there are some groundwater wells, potable wells along Marjorie Drive. We were kind of concerned where if there is any pollution that would be leaching from that waste, might affect those wells. So we worked with Mr. DeLongo's consultant. We offered some of our assistance in analyzing that at the state lab. The good thing is that the water table where we sampled was clean. There were no contaminants that were leaching above any background. Sometimes you get background of metals, barium, certain metals like that, but no anthropogenic detections of any
Craig, quick
materials.
questions for you. I'm sorry to interject. Is there specifically what we know he was dumping? I know it's a crapshoot, not knowing, but motor oils, was it farming?
No,
Waste
so
or-
basically, there has been some test fitting
Yeah,
done, and there has been a small area of some street sweepings that have been done. That's a special waste, so we're gonna handle those a little differently. Most of it was MSW, municipal solid waste, construction debris, and then a lot of organics were brought on there. We'd see a lot of stumps, trees. There were some old telephone poles that one of the properties on 209, they'll have to be removed. We just worry kind of about creosote with those. But then I'll get into how we're going to really determine what's in those files.
Okay.
As we move forward. So we worked with Mr. DeLongo's consultant at the time was Lorero Engineering Associates. And we wound up approving a plan to address the first property, which is kind of the biggest New Bigsway rear. That was last year. We approved that. And so now work is scheduled to begin hopefully, within the next month and a half or so. So that's kind of, we're here. We met with Mike and a few people. Victor was one, I believe, and thought it was a good idea to come in front of the council to inform you of the work that's going to be progressing. So the first, these are the four properties. My apologies, the town database that we use for this GIS layer hasn't shown where 127 was parceled off.
Is this your drawing?
I had a staff member make this for us, yes.
So is that your company on the top?
That's the company, that's the owner. That's the owner's, Mr. DeLongo's company is called What TF LLC.
wow.
I did
Pretty
not
clever,
make
huh?
that up.
No,
Yeah.
I do, I remember them, yeah.
So you have so it's basically, if you
Yeah,
look
from
at
the council.
that red property was 127 as a whole. The top was New Bigsway rear. That's been subdivided with the stock, if you will. It looks like a rifle. The stock is the Citrine solar farm. The other parcel, the barrel, if you will, the New Bigsway rear, that's where the remediation is going to be focused on. There's no dumping where we have them dig test pits where the solar farm was going, and we didn't discover anything, and there was no history of any dumping there. The bottom property in purple is 209 Tucket, and on the left top, that's 400, as the mayor just pointed to. Just above that is 420. So kind of give you an idea of where the properties are located. You have Tucket on the left, Forest all the way on the right. So getting into the properties, this is taken, we did a site visit April 26th, and we have drone capability. So we brought a drone out to take some aerial photos of it to kind of give us an idea of, what exactly we're dealing with. And the GIS on this, the drone software we have, is able to pull out this hillshade model, it's called. So it shows relative elevations, and so it's really easy to depict where that illegal dumping was taking place, where the piles were located. So we'll address, these are going to be addressed systematically. I'll go into that after I go through each property. So you're looking at, to the left would be Tucket, to the right would be out towards Forest Road on that.
So all the snow caps are dumping grounds, essentially?
I'm sorry?
All the snow caps are dumping grounds? Is that
The
what you're
snow, yes, so the lighter the color, when you get to the white, those are the highest in elevation.
Great.
Red, green is what you would consider base elevation, if you will. And it really works out well. It correlates well to what we've seen with boots on the ground. And actually, there is one, somebody had just had a septic system done on Marjorie Drive when we went out there, and it came up, but we deleted it out because it was temporary and it wasn't part of this this case. 400 and 420 Tucket, 400 on the bottom, 420 on the top. Both sites had been had dumping associated with it. Tucket Road on the right, the quarry on the left. So those are gonna be addressed later on. Here is, so kind of give you an idea, and I don't know if any of you have been out to the site, these are some really, really big piles there. So there's hundreds of thousands of cubic yards that have to be dealt with. And they'll be dealing with them, like I said, in a systematic way. The last property we're dealing with is 209 Tutucket. Same thing, it's a rear lot off of Tutucket. We were a little concerned, there is the wetland to the bottom left there, but again, our groundwater investigation showed that there was no anthropogenic impacts to groundwater. Again, this is
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yep.
That house that you just showed in the last picture, so their well water is perfectly safe to drink?
Yes. There was no, well, I shouldn't say that. As far as what we looked at water table elevation. So these wells are probably, groundwater was about 6 to 8 feet down. We're looking at 6 to 8 feet in. If there was a solvent that had been released at some point way back in the past, because solvents have a specific gravity heavier than water, they would sink.
Yeah.
And that might have reached the wells. But if I could check for you too, but I think that well in front was sampled. The resident.
I would hope that that well was sampled.
Was sampled. So again, this is the elevation model. This site, originally, you can see it's kind of cut out. It was mined for bank run gravel. It's quite a valuable commodity. It was at the time, so they did that right around. All on the top around it is not the result of illegal dumping. That was the original elevation before it was mined out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the house would be on the left where that red shades over to the green there. So those are the 4 properties and kind of what we're dealing with.
Does some of this property lie within North Haven?
No, very close. East Haven.
Or East Haven?
East Haven, yeah. So the 400, if we go back,
I thought that quarry was in East Haven.
the quarry is in East Haven.
Okay, yeah.
The quarry is in East Haven, and we did have a talk with Mike and stuff about, because the truck traffic coming out of the quarry does access out of 400. It comes out, drives out onto Tutucket.
That's what I thought.
So we have, other parts of our agency are looking at that issue too, might be dealing with some stormwater issues that need to address before those trucks leave the site.
So on that picture there, you have the quarry, what, in front of the quarry to the right, that's where all the dumping was, where that dirt road is?
Yep. Yep, that road is, actually, we walked along that, that's tight, like, if you look corresponding, see the road cut there? It's on top of the mound of whatever was brought there. I'm hesitant to call it waste because it hasn't been characterized yet, but it was brought there illegally and it needs to be addressed. So yeah, that's that road right there.
Okay.
So it's at pretty high elevation. We walked it and you're looking down into that pond, which is right there.
Yeah.
So it's quite a difference in relief. 100 feet, maybe more, down into that.
And that is all debris that was dumped there, the 100-foot pile?
Approximately. I'm estimating, I mean, Mark, there's a lot of material, 100,000 plus cubic yards in that pile and the pile to the right of it as well.
Quick question to cut to the chase on this.
Sure.
Who's paying for all this?
Mr. DeLongo. So one of the deals, he entered into a stipulated judgment. And one of the things that, monies that he collects on the, leasing the land to Citrine is going to be, dedicated to put into part of the cleanup. I don't know all of the specifics. That was done between, Mr. DeLongo's attorney and the, Attorney General's office.
So is there anything that North Branford's on the hook for or could be on the hook for?
As of now, no, I don't see, no.
Let's just say WTF LLC decides not to write a check. Whose burden is that?
Well, he has active court actions in him, and he wouldn't be able to walk away. What the consequences of that would be, I can't really speak to. It's more of, that would be the Attorney General's office.
Okay, but nothing would fall upon North Branford,
No.
town taxpayers,
Brian,
to
are you,
deal with this
are you
remediation.
familiar with this? Because my understanding was, and I don't know if anybody else here is, but my understanding was that he was not able to collect any profits from the citrine solar field until this was done.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
believe it's like 90% of that has to be put in escrow
Right.
and used directly towards costs on the cleanup.
I think that's pretty much the only reason why this is getting done now, so.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
So, but we don't know that it's hazardous. We don't know what this is yet.
We're assuming.
Until we go into.
We don't.
Okay.
We're, our assumption is that this material's been there a long time, and we know with assumptions goes, but the
I can tell
material's
you,
been
there's
there.
tires there. I drove by when I was a kid. I can
Yeah.
tell you they're there.
Yeah, there's tires themselves are relatively inert.
Yeah.
The issue with that was that those tires were set on fire, and they used PFAS. That's why we were concerned when they were looking at subdividing 363, that, to put in potable wells, but Mr. DeLongo extended, water at his own cost up the street and put in his development. We didn't have any record of any waste being on that property.
So that bonfire didn't create much more of a hassle in that capacity?
Well, that's gonna be, so that fire is gonna have to be addressed when they investigate that property. 420. We were concerned with groundwater. When PFAS, we've all heard of it now. It's a forever chemical, and it's an appreciable amount was used to put out that fire. So that's gonna be part of the investigation on that parcel. We don't have any evidence of it being used at any of the other 3 parcels.
Okay.
So the first parcel they're gonna go through, they're gonna address is New Biggs Way rear. We refer to it that now as that because 127 has been parceled off. So I said that the piles are gonna be disassembled systematically. They're gonna go in and address, all the piles are labeled, and they're gonna go into pile 1 and put a shovel into it, pull it out, do documentation. There's gonna be photo documentation. If they see any staining in it, right, which would be indicative of maybe an oil spill, a gasoline spill, they use what they call a PID, a photo ionizing detector, and that would see if there's the presence of VOCs on it. So as they are disassembling these piles, they're gonna segregate any municipal waste, any obvious waste will be pulled out. You find a tire, you find we saw some appliances that were out there. But otherwise, this material is gonna be taken, put into a trommel with, I believe it's a 2 or 3 inch screen. That trommel, it shakes the material. Anything smaller than whatever size screen they're using will drop out. And we're hoping that that's more of just organics and some soil-like material. Anything that's left out of there, any municipal solid waste, be it organics, will have to be dealt with. Any municipal solid waste, construction debris will have to be disposed of off-site. What's going to be left is that soil-like material. That soil-like material will be taken and put into windrows, placed on polyethylene sheeting, right? So we don't want any chance of anything. Once these piles are disturbed, you may have more ability to leach out contaminants. So it'll be put on polyethylene sheeting, dealt with, as I say, it'll be managed with dust control, because we do have those residents along Marjorie Drive are very close. There's pools in the backyard and stuff, so we want to make sure they use their best management practices, including wetting and covering the piles with sheeting. What they'll do then is after they segregate these piles, and they're not going to mix the piles as they do it. Pile 1 will be those piles. Then they will sample those piles. We have a analyte list, including VOCs, SVOCs, metals, PCBs. They're going to analyze those on a certain frequency. And what they'll do is they do composite samples. They take five samples, mark where they're from. One of the samples comes back high. Then they'll go back and they'll redo each one of those individual samples that made up that composite. If anything comes over the applicable criteria, in this case, it's the residential direct exposure criteria, which will protect people from thermal exposure, inhalation, kids playing in it, eating it, stuff like that. And it is, they also have to meet the GA groundwater class pollutant mobility. Pollutant mobility criteria is the ability of materials to come out of that soil matrix during precipitation events. So in GA is where it's suitable for drinking water. So we want to make sure, now anything that's over those two, either one, other, or both, that has to be removed. There's no, they can't keep it on site, they can't use any kind of other controls to keep that contamination on site. Has to be removed. There is circumstances where they may be able to reuse it at another site, but they have to use it in accordance with the soil reuse regulations on it. Anything that meets the residential direct exposure criteria, if there's no anthropogenic impacts, we call that native soil, it could pretty much be used anywhere, and it could be called clean fill. So I'd imagine that would be marketed on it, rather than just be used on this site, which this site, once it's done, is basically landlocked. And I don't think it'll ever be available for any kind of development.
So all of that whole pile, all of that's gonna be onto the whole pile?
Yeah, so as they pull it out, they're gonna pull out, if they have a permit, a deep permit to handle anything organics, like, because we know there's stumps, logs and stuff. Those things are gonna be, they have a permit for 90 days of operation. Those are 90 operating days. They don't have to be consecutive. And that's to just take that material and grind it up into chips. Anything else, those can stay on site. But anything else, MSW, construction debris, street sweepings, anything, it has to be removed off site and disposed of at Mr. DeLongo's cost.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So going forward, again, the New Bigs Way rear is going to be ramping up soon. The TA should be coming out shortly. We're planning on, so this is something we talked about with Mike and the other gentleman is allegedly there's another access, an easement at the end of Marjorie Drive at the dead end. It's our want, and the town's want as well, that anything that has to be removed from the New Bigs Way site goes out on Forest. We don't want these trucks. There's enough truck traffic coming out from 400 to Tuckett from the operations at the quarry. So it would be, I think it's in everybody's best interest to have the truck traffic use the easement out onto Forest Road. There is the next step for 209 is the next property that will be addressed. The LEP, licensed environmental professional that Mr. DeLongo has hired, I'll be working closely with him. Katie and myself will be working closely with them to come up with a plan that is acceptable to the department. And that will be, at the end of the day, we want it to be protective of human health and the environment. So that's the next property that's going to be done. The New Bigs Way rear, they're good to go once they have everything ready. So as I said, there'll be documentation when this work is going on. The LEP will have, and I think it's monthly progress reports that need to be submitted to the department, including all analyses, all photo documentation, manifests. If they have to remove anything off of the site, it has to be manifested. It can't just be put in a truck and taken somewhere. We need to know what it is, how much it is, and where it's going. Those are all going to be part of those monthly reports. In addition, we're going to have continued oversight of the activities going on. Katie and myself, Mark, other staff from our waste engineering and enforcement division will also be involved in overseeing the site on an almost daily basis. We'll be popping in to make sure that things are going in that very prescribed way that is in that approved plan. So we want to make sure that we're clear, we're going to be, available to the residents if they have any questions. To that point, we're finalizing mailings that are going to go out to those residents along Marjorie Drive that are going to be right along that property. Those will be sent out with kind of a description of the property, the anticipated schedule, work hours. We have, we're going to have set work hours. They can't show up at 6 in the morning and work till 8 o'clock at night. These people, they can't have their lives disrupted on a regular basis because of that. So, they'll have my contact information, Katie's contact information. So if they see anything that is untoward, give us a call. We'll be right out there. Like I said, we're going to have a pretty regular presence out there too. But I've worked well. What TF's LEP is Boris Tomachek, and I've worked with him, and he's seems like a pretty stand-up guy. But we want to make sure that he is, and have that oversight with him on that. So we have these are our contact information. If you have questions regarding any of this that I know I went pretty fast, feel free to give me a call. I think, and if anybody here wants copies of this presentation, let me know and I can email you PDFs of it. And so, like I said, any concerns, any questions, I did neglect to mention, I did have assurances from Mr. DeLongo that the culvert bridge that was illegally placed years ago on the Farm River from Tutucket, right just south of the 363 parcel, I have assurances that's going to be removed, and his LEP has been made, and his attorney have been made very aware that that has to be done in accordance with any local or state regulations. Inland wetlands, he can't just go and yank it out. It's got to be, whatever they do, it will have to be done in accordance with those. It's not just a free for all. So we tried to impress upon Mr. DeLongo that this is, he has to play by the rules now, and if not, we do have legal authority over him. So he can't keep us off the property. We could go and inspect the property at any time. And so we want to have that assurances that we will have that continuing oversight until this
Are you going to
this project is over.
communicate? Are you going to communicate with the Inland Wetlands Commission in town, because I know they've been very concerned about that culvert.
I did. I spoke with. I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I don't know if he said it was like the wetlands is a quasi thing with some conservation group. I can't remember who it was.
With the land trust?
Land trust?
The land trust, maybe, because I know.
Maybe.
Well, but I know that the
Separate, but yeah.
Inland Wetlands has discussed those culverts in the past.
Yeah, I had a gentleman. He was an attorney and he retired. Greg. Sharp. Greg Sharp. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. I knew I got it. So, but it's not necessarily under our purview, but it will be under some of our permitting people to do that, and also the town's permitting people. So we want to make sure that those are done in accordance with all the rules and regulations there as well.
So this is all happening. It's getting cleaned up. It's getting cleaned up.
It is happening, and I understand, I've been involved since 2015 with this, and it's been a slog. But we've worked closely. They did change LEPs, once we have, it's an iterative process. As we go through it, and that's one of the reasons that we'll have a bigger presence there, because if they come up with, they hit something that, let's say drum, in the middle of this pile, it's like, you stop, call us, we kind of work on what we're gonna do, to get that. And there is, I should say too, once all the piles are done, piles are removed, it's been, the waste has been segregated out, they're left with that, they've analyzed it, it's all been characterized. The last part of that is they'll have to sample where the piles were on kind of the native soil, if you will, to make sure that no contamination has leached down into that. So they'll be sampling from 0 to 2 and 2 to 4 feet deep once those piles are removed. Just to kind of, it's kind of the last thing to check to see, yeah, we got it all, so.
Right.
We're not expecting any, based on, there is a lot of garbage out there, but I haven't seen in mine, I've been out to the sites quite a few times, haven't seen anything that would be, too, immediate danger with it, but you never know. We don't know what was put in there, those, we know the history of the site, and, the characters that were previously weren't necessarily the most straight shooters, if you will.
Forthright, yeah.
Are there any other sites in town that you're working on that need to be done?
Not that I know, not associated with this project itself, no.
I think other sites you're thinking of.
How long start to finish do you expect?
We're hoping that they're able to get it done. I'm still waiting to hear back from Boris, but we're hoping that they are able to finish this site this summer. It's a big undertaking. And I should mention too, he has been given, there is some waste that has been spilled over to the land trust, which is just to the northwest along Farm River. There is some waste there. I guess there is an agreement in place that is going to be addressed in this removal act.
Okay.
That Newby's Way Road.
Okay,
Any other questions?
no, I appreciate your time putting this together. Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you very much for having us. And any questions, feel free to reach out.
We most certainly will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move back to item 7, town manager report. Michael, a brief general update report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll wait for.
Coming right on you.
There you go.
There you go, great. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. The town's Memorial Day Parade was held on Monday, May 29th in the North Branford section of town this year. The event was a tremendous success with many participants and spectators, and the weather was terrific. Special thanks once again to our parade Grand Marshal, Zach Canada, who delivered some very moving remarks. Those from our local veteran community who marched, rode a golf cart or a tractor in the case of Cliff Potter. Thanks again to our MC for the event, Mark Abelli, to members of this council who participated, some with their families, our public works and public safety teams who made the planning and the execution of the event come together, and to Kathy Poston and Gina Cox for taking the lead in organizing the event. The State House of Representatives adopted a $51 billion state budget early this morning. The budget was passed on a largely bipartisan basis and provides a large middle-class tax cut. While we're still getting details, I did have the opportunity to speak to our state representative, Vin Candelora, this afternoon. As the council is aware, based on the governor's proposed budget, we were expecting a cut of over $200,000 to our education cost share funding. In this new state budget, we are kept whole with the full $7.3 million ECS grant. While we're still getting a full picture of what the state budget will mean, and there's still a process that needs to be acted out, we are certainly privileged to have, as our state representative and House Minority Leader, having a significant seat at the table with budget negotiations. And as we get more information about the state's budget impact on our town, I will share that with the town council. Once again, Town Hall will be proud to host the Honor Our Military with a Flag event on June 14th. The North Branford Women's Club is sponsoring this event, which is a salute to our country's military personnel and veterans. The public is invited to participate by purchasing a U.S. flag dedicated to a member of our military. The flags will be on display at the front lawn of the North Branford Town Hall from Flag Day, June 14th to July 4th. Each flag is 12 inches by 18 inches and will have a white ribbon with the name and rank of the soldier or loved one. Flags are $10 a piece. More information is available at their website, North Branford NB Women's Club, GFWC.org. May 21st to 27th was National Public Works Week. It's an opportunity for us to recognize and show appreciation for those who serve in public works, to improve our community and preserve its infrastructure. I know the council joins me in extending thanks to our hardworking personnel in public works right here in North Branford. And the same week was also National EMS Week. I know the council also joins me in recognizing the great personnel we have in the North Branford Fire Department that provide quality emergency care at all hours, supporting our communities and families. The Park and Recreation Department are conducting pickleball lessons for adults and kids this month with signups online. They have kids beginner pickleball and adult beginner pickleball. They're also offering adult co-ed softball again at Totucket Valley Park starting June 13th. And also the senior picnic will be held June 29th at the Stanley T. Williams Community Center. Attendance is free and the event takes place at 5:30 p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. It's co-sponsored by the North Branford Rotary, and you can get more details on these events and more on their website at nbrecreation.com. We're 1 month and 28 days away from the North Branford Potato and Corn Festival, and I wouldn't dare try to give it a better promotion than our own Councilor Rose Angeloni, but this year's event promises to be better than ever. It will take place August 4th, 5th, and 6th, which are guaranteed to be, as always, the hottest days of the year.
Yes, true.
In fact, if you want some days to be hot, just plan the POCO Festival for those days, and you're guaranteed to get it. The Park and Rec and POCO volunteers have been hard at work putting together a first-rate family event for everyone, and I look forward to it, as I know everyone here does. I'm pleased to report that our arborist and tree warden, Darren Peterson, has successfully applied for and received a $3,000 grant from the Connecticut Urban Forest Council, which will be used for the beautification of the outdoor space at the Edward Smith Library and the location of the Little Red Schoolhouse. The grant will be matched by funds by the library's endowment and will incorporate learning programs in association with the beautification of the area and represents a collaboration between the town libraries and the Totucket Historical Society. Also, the town of North Branford is eligible for a $44,000 grant as part of the governor's recent announcement of $10 million in state ARPA grant funds being made available to local senior centers aimed at upgrading and improving facilities and providing improved programming. We'll start formulating a plan for our submission this month. Plans must be submitted by June of 2024 to the State Department of Aging and Disability Services. A reminder that dog licenses expire at the end of June and that renewals are due by then. Neutered and spayed dogs are $8. Dogs that are not neutered and spayed are $19. Renewals are with the office of the town clerk and must be done by mail or in person, as the office only accepts cash or check for the renewals and tags. Rabies vaccinations must be up to date to get a license renewed. And you may have noticed the flower plantings at Town Hall, both by the main entrance. Well, actually, maybe you didn't because the smoke is so heavy here right now. But at the town sign circle in the front and over by the main entrance, that's done by our own Lynn Walzak and building and her husband Tom. They're largely responsible for personally overseeing and doing the planting care of these flowers, which greatly improve the appearance of Town Hall during the warmer months. And also town engineer Victor Benny has been personally seeing to a number of plantings by our rock garden. But he'll be the first to tell you that his work is most likely to be mistaken for weeds by Public Works and cut down. Nonetheless, we thank them all for the pride they have taken in our workplace and their efforts to bring joy to those who pass through here. I'll be away for the council meeting of the 20th, and Assistant Town Manager Rory Burke will be sitting in for me at that meeting. Please haze him, but gently. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right, so we have that directive. Hazing is acceptable, but only gently. Rory, excited for that? Good. Okay. All right, update to item B, Permanent Project Building Committee.
Stanley T. Williams Community Center, the project remains 90% complete and the roof is finished. We're still awaiting the fascia and caps. The project is expected to be fully complete this month. A couple of weeks ago, during a significant rain event, we did have a leak event due to a bad seal by an air ventilation unit, but Silktown was responsive and a repair was effected quickly and there was no significant damage. Police Department and EOC, the site work at this location continues. The road work and the new Department of Public Works Drive entrances are in process. North Branford Intermediate School, the Permanent Project Building Committee has recommended an award to Barrett Incorporated that appears on your agenda this evening. If approved, the project will begin in July, with completion slated for late August of 2024. And North Branford High School, the work on the punch list continues, and summer punch list items have been established, and the Phase 2 demolition is in process. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. All right. Maybe that's more exciting news about that later. All right, item 9, citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. Do we have any? All right. Seeing none. On to item 10, resignations and appointments. I don't see any on the agenda. Shall move on. Item 11, unfinished business, discussion and action. Discussion and creation of the 1831 committee. I do see that we've received some interest on both.
That's the blueprint committee.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're right. My bad.
1831, we're just carrying that.
Okay, we're carrying that one forward, so we're gonna maintain care of that one, correct. We'll carry that forward. On to item 12, new business discussion and action, update on the 1831 committee funding and account number.
Right, so I think we've got the mechanism put in place, is that correct?
Yeah, we're gonna create a separate fund, because there'll be multiple, there'll be advertising, contractual services, make a separate project fund for the whole, so to have a separate account. We'll have
If there's any donations coming in from folks that can go into that same, or we have to have another,
No, it'll be that same fund,
Same
we'll
fund?
capture all the revenue sources, all the expenses in one fund.
that's great, okay. All right, so that's suffices what we're looking for. All right, and on to item B, discussion action of delinquent real estate tax accounts.
Do that after the executive session at the end.
Okay, of course. Session. Item C, approval on addition, of additions to suspense list for the 2018 and 19 grand list.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council directs the tax collector to provide updated information to the town attorney regarding the delinquent status on the following list numbers: 129, 1222, 2723, 3202, 3203, 3283, 3287, 4464, 5152. Furthermore, the North Branford Town Council directs the town attorney to commence collection proceedings on the aforementioned list numbers.
That's the item for after executive, that's not the suspense list.
that's the
Real estate
approval.
delinquents.
I'm sorry?
That's the real estate delinquents.
Yes, okay.
We're gonna hold that after the executive session.
Hold that particular,
Item, yep.
okay, so should we pull that back then? Okay, we'll pull that back. We'll come back to that after executive session as well. So B and C are after executive session, correct?
You can do C now.
That's what we just did.
Or you did, you guys did.
That we just,
You read B.
You read B.
I wasn't looking at it, so. Okay, go back and get a C.
so we gotta go, other one, the other motion.
Yes, thank you. I looked at the wrong one as well.
So,
We'll blame Mike for that. Okay.
so be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council accepts the recommendation of the tax collector and agrees to put the following taxpayers on the list provided under the suspense list pursuant to CGS 12-165.
Okay, we have a motion by Counselor Diamond. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Zampano. Any discussion?
So what are we looking at? We're looking at that
Unless,
2018 to, right? Is that the list we're looking at? Yeah,
Yeah,
this one here?
yeah, Jerry Winnick, the tax collector, is joining me tonight. So basically, this is another step in the process of tax collections. And for those that may not be familiar, the suspense list does not negate, erase, reduce the taxes in any way, shape, or form. It just takes it off of the true receivables, let's call it, and puts it on a separate receivable list. If they go to register a car tomorrow at DMV, it's gonna pop up, they're gonna come in and pay. We do get some money on the suspense list, but it goes back to that motor vehicle. We talk, it's 80% of the time on 20% of the dollars. The amount of effort, all those, we're gonna get pennies on that list back, and it's a shame. And there was talk years ago about changing the DMV process to be based on social security numbers. So no matter where you went, your number doesn't change. If they move out of town, they could change their name, one letter in their name, it becomes a whole different thing. You could be Tom Zampano, you could be Tom Miss Zampano, you could be T Zampano. In the eyes of DMV, that's 3 separate accounts.
Why are you using me as an example?
You have a reputation.
So there's ways to skirt the system, and it really is a shame the amount of money that we don't collect on motor vehicle. But the process that we follow, and Jerry can explain it, basically we do, in February, we send a delinquent out that says, hey, Tom, you missed your second payment. And people sometimes, they pay the first payment, they put it in a drawer, and they lose track of it. It's a gentle reminder. If they don't pay in February, March goes out and says, hey, we called you, told you last month you forgot the payment, now you're if that doesn't happen, in April, we go to a state marshal. For 60 days, they have it. Then it goes to a collection aid. All these have been through the marshal, the collection agency, so chances of getting big money on that list is terrible.
Do they gain fines as they're going through each one?
Oh yeah, the 18% is going. So people that come in and pay 2 or 3 years from now, the bill could be here, the interest is here. So they're paying, twice sometimes the amount of the bill. And, people realize when you have a car, you're gonna have tax bills. So if they try to skirt the system, they're only hurting themselves because the clock is still running at 18%.
So how do you get on this list? Is it a year?
You don't pay your bill.
No, but is it years?
It's not one you want to get
Is
on.
it like 5 years? Is it 5 years, 3
No,
years?
that's everybody from 18 who hasn't paid, that's gone through the process I just delineated.
Right.
That's still on the list.
Right here,
Let's clean
there's
it
your
up
name. You see
and
it?
put it on.
Right there, T Sizzle Zampana.
No, but I'm just saying, like, so it doesn't.
Every year there's people that get put on that list. It's
Okay.
not 5 years, 10 years
Okay.
volume. Whereas the real estate we'll talk about later is predicated there's a little more regimented process for that. This is basically, you haven't paid your bill, you go on this list. It doesn't reduce the bill, erase it, negate it, just takes you off the true receivable and says, okay, we got a slim chance of getting Tom Zampano's money, let's put him over here.
No, the reason why I'm asking is it goes up to 2019. I was just wondering why 2020 and 21 is not on there.
Because we hadn't had the time period to go through all this.
Yeah, they're still fresh enough where those people maybe,
Oh, okay, all right, that's all,
maybe
I'm
with,
just asking.
hardships, things like that, the last couple of years, we
Okay.
kind of give them a little bit of slack.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Any other suggestions or discussion?
suggestion.
Yes, sir. You
But
want
the
to
motion
figure out how
would
to-
include that it's a motor vehicle delinquent tax list, so they don't get confused with a real property tax.
Personal property
Someone say that.
That's fair.
Specifically motor vehicle delinquent tax.
Yeah.
Just, my suggestion is just include it in the original motion.
You're gonna have personal property as well as motor vehicle.
Yeah, but this is for personal property. This is specifically.
Well, some say
all-
personal property.
Yeah, some do
It's
say.
all, it's all motor vehicle.
Some
Some
say
says
personal property.
Okay, some say personal property?
Yeah, some are businesses,
All right, I stand corrected
Gotcha.
then.
and some of them could be out of business,
Sure.
that you're probably never gonna see.
Oh, okay, all I saw was motor vehicle. All right, I stand
There's
corrected.
not a lot.
A lesson on cheating on your taxes. We'll do
Mainly
that later
motor
on.
vehicle.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? All
Yeah,
right.
one more question.
Go ahead.
So where does this, so we're taking it off the book?
No, we're taking it out of
Moving
column A and putting it on column B. It
Okay.
stays on our record, stays in the system for 15 years.
Yeah,
At the 15th year, it drops off.
okay, all right.
That's the state statute.
Yeah, okay.
But up to 15 years, it stays on our book list, but just on a side list, if you want to call it that. It's on the computer system and everything else. If you came in and paid 7 years from now, it'd pop up and you'd owe us the money.
What happens after 15 years?
Goes away.
They go
So
away.
you don't owe it anymore?
Yeah, you can't collect it after 15
State
years.
statute.
State.
15 years, you don't.
So if you move
Told
out
everyone how
of
to get
state
around it.
and you come back 10 years later, you
Yeah.
owe it. Come back
Okay.
15 years later, you
That's
owe it.
interesting. Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Other than if you're moving out of state, don't pay your taxes. Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, we got that done. Great. Okay, item D, discussion and action, discussion and approval of bid specification RFP 932002 ambulance. Who wants to speak to this, or we can just go right to the motion? I know we've discussed this earlier. Anthony, do you want to give a little, would you mind giving a little update on this? Take off your finance hat, come in as chief.
Swap over. So, you may recall, I think it was 2 years ago, you were kind enough to give the fire department a new ambulance. The other one that is the frontline vehicle is due for replacement. It's in your CIP for July 1 to replace. We have a price quote from the vendor who we bought the first vehicle from. I won't give the exact amount. Thank you. But in the past, we have used remounted ambulances, which basically means you take the box off, one cabin chassis, redo the, paint it, do air conditioning, whole nine yards, put it on a clean cabin chassis, and you have extended life. The ambulances we have now have been remounted.
All the powertrains new. The
Brand
cabs,
new,
yeah.
brand new cabin chassis, everything is redone over, new LED lights,
Just
whole
the
nine yards.
box,
Just the box. We have come across a company out of Tennessee that can save, based on, I don't mention the dollar amounts because Mike will yell at me. There's a significant savings of buying a remounted ambulance versus buying a brand new ambulance.
Correct.
The fire commission, I had them make the motion specifically that because the remounted company is not on a consortium bid, we can't just give them a PO.
Correct.
The motion that they had was to pursue that pursuant to town purchasing policies.
Thus we need the bid.
So I discussed it with our purchasing agent, and we decided in order to ensure that we were getting the best deal, we couldn't just go to the low guy without going through a process of doing an RFP. We do have a cab and chassis already reserved for us with the initial guy, but there might be an opportunity to save significant money by looking at this option. So we're going to test the waters with this. We have in our back pocket the other brand that we already have the price quote for, and we have something, they're on a consortium bid, so it makes life a little bit easier. We're going to test the waters with this process to see if we can save some money on getting a different ambulance.
Sounds good. I like saving money.
It's I can't say the numbers because Michael yelled at me, but it's good numbers.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that, Anthony? How are you going to test the waters? Like somebody going to go
We're going to
down?
put an RFP out and they're going to bid. And when they respond to the bid, that'll be their price. The price that they have, again, is significantly lower than the price we have already going forward. Again, that whole remount process we've done for many years. We've always remounted our ambulances. The current ones we can't remount. They've already been remounted once. It affects the under chassis of the box, it's structurally integrity, things like that. You can't do it more than once in some cases. So what we're looking to do here is to test the waters to see what's out there price-wise, to see how it compares with the number we already have sitting over here from our current vendor, and maybe we'll make a move, maybe we'll stay with him. Maybe that ends up being the best price. But there's an opportunity, I think, to save some significant money, and let's just see what they come in at, and then we'll make a decision at that point.
So
But the money's in,
The current one's a brand new ambulance? or
yep, soup
also
to
a
nuts.
remount?
Soup to nuts, brand new.
Okay, all right.
And this would be, they could bid brand new if they wanted to. They could bid remount if they wanted to. So it's wide open how you want to
How you
bid.
want to bring it towards us.
All right.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? All right. All right,
Make a motion.
please.
I'll make a motion to approve RFP number 932002 ambulance.
Second. All right, motion by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor Palicia. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, thank you very much. All right, on to item E, award of bid for 23103, North Branford Intermediate School facade update and roof replacement.
Right, Mr. Mayor, this is added today. I sent out the document, provided your folders, and put in Dropbox today because it was pending action by the Permanent Project Building Committee, which took place last night, so I wasn't able to obviously get that into your agenda packet, but you'll see before you that this bid is recommended to you by the Permanent Project Building Committee by their favorable vote last night.
Okay. I read through it earlier. Do you guys get a chance to look at it?
So the total, Mike, is around 7-8? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion?
I didn't hear the motion.
Well, we no motion, but any conversation?
A motion to accept and award bid number 23103, North Branford Intermediate School facade update and roof replacement.
Second.
All right. All right, motion by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor Hollandino. Any discussion this time?
Yeah, so this is what Rusty was involved in this, wasn't he? Not in this RFP, but in the,
He's the architect.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yep.
Joanna.
Good. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes, thank you. All right, on to item 13, citizen statements and petitions. I asked those that we still have a little bit more business to do after this executive session and make it relatively brief, sir, but good to see you.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if you people are as concerned as I am, but like
State
that,
your name for me real quick.
what?
Just for the record, state your name and address.
Oh, Cliff Potter,
Thanks, Cliff.
Northford, Connecticut. I'm discouraged with what our state government's passed. They're opening up voting for what, a 1 week or 2 week period? You know what, these people, if they can get out to get their lottery tickets, they can go buy their new iPhone, but they can't seem to come out and vote 1 day every 4 years? And has anybody done a study as to what this is going to do to Lisa's group? And is the state going to fund this? Do we have any pushback on this? Have you guys heard any more about this?
From what I understand,
It's a done deal?
there's no funding for that. It's unmandated, or just say what, unfunded mandates. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly about the funding level, but my sense is that I don't think any municipality probably thinks that they're being fully or appropriately funded for doing early voting.
And is it the 2 week period, or have you heard?
14 days is what.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in my book. I mean, that's ridiculous, but again, they make decisions at Hartford, and you guys are doing a good job, our office staff does a good job, and then you put this like blanket over them and say, well, for 2 weeks, you're gonna have to run elections. I don't get it. I mean, like I say, I didn't know if we have any way, but I guess we're getting it shoved down our throat, and we're becoming very lax, coddled. I don't know what words you want to use to describe what the government's doing to us, but I mean, I think it's not fair to our administration here that runs this business every day, this town business, and to put that kind of weight on them and have no dollar bills coming in to cover it, or people. And so I think, Lisa does an amazing job, as most of the staff here does. And this was just thrown at us. And so I didn't know if you guys had had any input or not, or we're just stuck with it.
Kind of above our pay grade in a way,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
All right, well, again, disappointed.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, sir. Okay, any further citizen statements or petitions? Anthony, anything online?
Negative.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. I will accept the motion to go into executive session. Executive session pending litigation, CGS 1-200 6B.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, just a
please.
question, because I believe we want to do a non-meeting before the executive session.
Yes, matter of
So
fact,
how you wanted to do
can we
this?
do that? Are we able to go into a non-meeting
Just be
before?
able to recess?
You can call a brief recess of this meeting.
A brief recess of this meeting? Okay. So we'll do that. We'll recess from this meeting, have a quick non-meeting, and then we'll go in and the motion for executive session.
Who do you need in executive session?
I think we'll probably enter that after that time, but preemptively, we would want to have, obviously, Anthony, as finance, I believe Mr. Rose is over there from our building committee. Rory, you should want to stick for that as well. Obviously, Michael's a town manager. Mr. Salentano, of course, our purchasing manager.
Yeah, for the non-meeting, it would be Al Rose, the town attorney, myself, Rory.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Before everybody leaves.
Mike from the audience.
Yeah.
Make sure that the executive
Keep it
session.
clean.
Yeah, the executive session is.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I misspoke. What I said was non-meeting. I meant non-meeting. Executive session is just Anthony, I think, right? And yourself.
Okay.
The rest of you are off the hook from that. Okay, so I will call a recess. And we'll probably close out. Oh, we'll have to talk to TV close out as well. Thank you, everyone.